So here are some of the potential risks or downside of increased AI adoption. We already see it in the market. The attackers are using AI to create pretty sophisticated phishing simulations and phishing attacks. Our phishing simulation products were kind of mediocre at best. The attackers are using AI. So that's creating some big risks in certain areas where these emails look more real every single day. So that's a potential risk, right, of AI adoption, primarily from the attacker side. Now let's flip this coin a little bit and say, well, what's that? So what does that mean for the concern around AI adoption within cybersecurity? There, the talking points, I think, are a little different. The issues are a little different because now we're talking about things like data privacy. How are we going to make sure that the data we're using in these AI models are privacy preserving? GDPR over in Europe is going to not allow you to have access to a lot of this data. So then how good is the model is going to be if I can't, have access to that data? Data provenance and the ability to control your own data becomes, I think, a really big area of concern that has to be addressed if you're going to adopt these technologies internally. And that also leads to things like reducing hallucinations, et cetera, et cetera. So what I've so far seen in this space is, a lot of hype around this. Hey, we got to go build our stuff, but then here's all the risks. How do we handle it? So you're seeing this interesting evolution of like AI governance solutions. That's okay. Like I've seen companies actually put policies in place that say you can't use publicly available AI like Chat GPT, for example. That's to reduce some of these risks around data privacy and data provenance, for example. But then on the flip side of that is, well, if I do want to use these, then how am I going to govern these models and the data going forward? And so AI governance is evolving. I think there's some other advancements around AI security that will have to come in order to address some of the potential risks and concerns around AI.
So the potential risks or downsides of increased AI adoption are significant. And the concern around AI adoption is to some extent worth the hype it's getting in security circles. I go to conferences where business leaders basically meet and discuss with counsel and other executives some of the risks that are inherent to AI adoption, rapid AI adoption. A lot of what gets discussed is you see it's reflected in some of the initial security framework regulatory activity in Europe and at NIST around the artificial intelligence risk management framework, around the EU AI Act. There's, several problems, right? Bias is a massive problem. If you're using models inside companies to make decisions about, who to give a loan to, who do you hire up, HR data is very sensitive and is being fed into systems. So there's quite a lot of risk around that. There's also model drift, right? Say you do get a model that's up and running and giving you good answers in cybersecurity, for example, but how do you know that the inputs are not poisoned or corrupted at some point, or that the model has changed its weights and is starting to give different answers and maybe even hallucinating at times, right? So that's significant risk as well. Then there's the data governance issue, which is huge. Employees, if you shut down their access to LLMs or copilots, they might run off and, sign up for it offline as well. To some extent, we don't have any regulatory pressure right now on the larger AI hyperscalers. So how do we guarantee that you're not going to be able to trick LLMs into disclosing confidential information, trade secrets, intellectual property, and the like? Those are some of the biggest risks, and they are substantial.